Hi everyone and welcome back to the Clever Report. It's just truly Peter Clever. Today we're going to be reacting to a clip from Piers Morgan Uncensored. In light of the arrest of the Tate brothers in Florida, there's been contrast discussion about if they are guilty or if they're a net positive or a net negative to the society. So Piers Morgan invited Andrew Wilson, Dave Smith, and a feminist, a low IQ feminist called Jojo. So they are discussing the intricacies of the issue. It's an hour long, interview or conversation. Or there is a 9 minute clip where they encapsulated everything I was thinking about the whole issue. So I want us to watch the clip and then the first part of the clip. Then I'll give you my take on the issue.
But the masculinity aspect of it and the patriarchal aspect of it under the true church is perfectly acceptable. That's why so many Roman Catholics, Orthodox, and high church Protestants were able to kind of latch onto that message inside the manosphere and start turning the tide towards the Christian ethics and away from the OnlyFans and pimping and prostitution, etc.
Jojo, you said if you're getting your facts from Andrew Tate, congratulations, you're an idiot, an asshole, and also very likely an incel. You need to get back to your basement dwelling, grade spanking, and video gaming because the grown-ups are busy working. Now, in a way, my issue with that would be that you're targeting, I think, a lot of people who I would categorize as victims of Tate, impressionable young men who feel a bit disenfranchised, feel a bit under attack. Nobody's gravitated to people who have a rhetoric and a style of delivering it, which is a lot of the time quite empowering. Get fit, get mentally strong, want to do this, want to succeed, but nothing wrong with any of that. But then they have this nefarious side to them. And just how nefarious we're going to discover when they're finally put on trial. But is it fair of you to just demonize everyone that gravitated to them in the way that you did?
I don't think it's unfair for me to demonize the Tates, but I also think that we have a conflation of what the word masculinity means, right?
Feminists telling us what masculinity is.
Andrew Tate was arrested in pedal pushers and a purple shirt with his chest hanging out. I mean, the whole thing has been memed a million times. But, Donald Trump is certainly not the vision of masculinity that I think, people would say, oh, if I were to look the word up in a dictionary, it would be the guy who's covered in theatrical cake makeup and wears lifts in his shoes and, a girdle. But I think that it's been incredibly damaging to young men in this country that conflation of what masculinity is has meant bragging about grabbing women by the pussy, bragging about raping women, bragging about beating women. I'm the mom of a 16-year-old boy who will tell me that he sees his friends who watch this shit and think that guy's cool and that guy is what it means to be manly. I think that's a bigger referendum on what's happening in our culture as a whole. Like, again, as I said, as a mom of a 16-year-old son who went through the pandemic, I would say that the video games, that he, was isolated with his friends, that they were playing, games like, what's the one that they all play?
Go to the point. Go to the point.
Instantaneous gratification, so that they weren't having, conversations with people face to face, those kinds of things that are crucial to their development, they were missing. And these guys came in and filled that void. But I would say that if at any point, you're somebody who's looking at the Tates and saying, yeah, that's what it means to be a man, then you're confused to say the very least. And something else is missing in your life that you're trying to fill with this manufactured idea of what it is to be a man.
Firstly, I don't even know how the 16-year-old son is going to survive being raised by this woman, an obnoxious feminist. These people, they don't even know what words mean. They don't even know the difference between a man and a woman. But how come so far we're going to be lectured on masculinity by a feminist? That is crazy, basically. Now, Andrew Tate, they're not saints, I keep saying it. But there's a reason why most of their messages are resonating. Get fit, get rich, don't take any BS from anybody. Don't let all your masculine imperatives become toxic. Don't be unapologetically masculine. Don't apologize to be a man, basically. So now, sometimes you can say that the delivery of the takes are somehow rash, sometimes crude, but this is for the shock effect. Now, a rational thinking person It's not everything that you see online. It's not every message of the Tate that you're going to take. You can take the part of the fitness. You can take the part of Tate is an awesome speaker. Andrew Tate, even Christian Tate too. He's an awesome speaker. He knows how to, speak. He knows how to command the room. So these are the positives you can take. Yes, everybody has. There's no light without darkness. Everything is white. Everything is not really like white and black. So everybody has the bad side to them. So trying to only highlight the bad side, from this crazy feminist is crazy. It is virtually very, very crazy because the Tates are representing disenfranchised young men that the system has actually ruined. Because these people contribute mainly to the civilization, the structural or infrastructure of the civilization is mainly mainly handled by men, especially young men. So these people, when they go to the family courts or when they go to when you have the Me Too movement and all these social things, ruining the lives of men, they are going to rebel. That is just a fact. So I don't know why this lady is just sounding crazy. Let's keep watching.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this is, if you want talking about conflation, right, conflating messaging, this is a woman who said that Charlie Kirk was the king of the incels, right?
Yeah,
so
see,
Calling
this is
Charlie
so
Kirk
dumb,
an
right?
incel.
talk
Dude,
about
such a
don't
good
know
point.
what words, talk about what don't know what words mean, right? A guy married to former model, right, who has children is king of the incels. It's like, give me a break. That's one. She also said that he was
That's
the
exactly
head.
what happened.
Hang
Charlie
on,
Kirk
hang on,
went
hang
onto
on, hang on,
college
hang on. I didn't interrupt
campuses.
you. I didn't
All right,
interrupt you
okay,
once.
you're right. I'll
I
let
didn't
you
interrupt
finish,
you
and then
once.
I'll respond.
So he also
right.
said that he's the king of Hitler Youth, right? At TV USA. They don't know what words mean. And so here she's going to pretend that suddenly she knows what the word masculinity means. Masculinity is set and enriched through virtue ethics and the idea of the virtues around the male and the idea of virtues around the feminine. That's how we even know what femininity is, what masculinity is. There's some parts of Tate's message that I agree with you are really, really poor when it comes to that. But there's other parts of his message that weren't very poor when it comes to that. So don't try to tell us what masculinity and femininity is. You don't even know what words mean. If you're going to call a guy like Charlie Kirk the king of the incels, you don't even know what words mean.
Okay.
Well, can I point out?
Was married does not mean that Charlie
Dave, I'll
Kirk.
come to you in 1 sec.
Because Charlie Kirk was married to Erica Kirk, who, by the way, may or may not have been introduced to him by Donald Trump. That's because she worked for Donald Trump before she met Charlie.
So what?
Yes.
So what?
Well, there's a lot of
These people are
speculation as
crazy.
to how
These
that
people
all
are
came to
crazy.
pass. But to say that Charlie Kirk was the king of the incels is not a referendum on Charlie Kirk's choices in his life. Charlie Kirk went to college campuses with Turning Point and courted young men who were incels. They were voluntarily celibate. They were they
What?
believe
What? What are you talking about?
God,
Just making
God.
stuff up?
God.
No, Charlie
You're
Kirk
just
went to
making
college
stuff
campuses
up?
and he found a bunch of young guys who didn't know where they belonged, right? They didn't have a group. They
That
didn't
doesn't
have,
make
they
them
couldn't get
incels,
laid.
though,
So they
Joe.
see
That doesn't
Charlie
make them
Kirk comes in there and
incels.
he fills this void. And yeah, that was part of the original draw of Charlie Kirk.
How does that make
100%.
them incels, Joe? How would that make
Because-
them incels? He has a pro-marriage,
Because they wanted
pro-family
to blame
message, get
somebody
married.
else. They wanted to blame somebody else for the fact that they didn't have enough game to get a girl. So it was somebody
You're
else's
just making
fault
it
if they
up.
could
That's
find
that's
her.
not
But what-
TV
Really?
USA's
You're just-
message or Charlie Kirk's
this is
message.
so-
What are
I
you
don't know.
talking
It's
I'm not
about?
always-
And
saying
by
that
the
was
way, hang on.
exclusively his
Let me
message. I'm
just tie
saying that
this
was
off.
part of the appeal.
Well, let me
that
bring
was
in.
part
Let me
of
bring
it.
very
in.
quickly.
Let me bring in
No,
Dave.
you have no Charlie
Hang on.
Kirk fan
This
ever.
lady-
It's always like the liberals
this
have to
lady's
say
crazy.
this was his appeal, but you're not a fan of his, and no fan of his has ever once said that was the appeal. But anyway, can I just
course
say,
not.
So you think a guy's going to be like, oh
here's-
yeah,
one
I like
second.
Hang on,
Charlie
let
Kirk,
Dave
but
speak,
explain
please.
why I couldn't get laid?
Let Dave speak.
No, of course not. But also, I think you just saying it is pretty ridiculous too, and I don't think anyone actually feels that way. Anyway, I think with Andrew Tate, the thing that's kind of interesting here, and I think particularly from the perspective of, say, like me and Andrew, is that, you know, people on the left, it's like they call everything Hitler. And then when something that looks like Hitler shows up, they go, oh my
So
God, where
true.
did it
So
come
true.
from? And it's like, dude, it's a direct reaction to you. It is so obviously a direct reaction to you. Is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence that the Tates happened to blow up after 15 years of the left lecturing the entire society about toxic masculinity and enforcing safe spaces and all of this just nonsense, the excesses of the Me Too movement. It is so
We're not sure what men
obviously a
and women
counter-
are, Dave.
Yes. We don't know the difference between boys and girls. This is an
We can't tell.
overcorrection to you. And then you come around and say these things to two guys like me and Andrew, who are husbands and fathers, who are promoting more traditional family.
Yes.
By the way, Pierce, when you said it's not the message of the Tates that women should be at home and not vote and be in the kitchen, you're getting closer to me and Andrew territory with that. They're
Now, at first, this if you ask this lady, if you ask her what is a woman, she can't answer, and she'll say anybody that identifies as a woman. That is what she's going to say. These people are crazy. And now, even though you may not agree with Charlie Kirk, everything the late Charlie Kirk, everything he stood for, but you cannot say he's an incel. This guy was somebody that did it the traditional conservative way, got married. Some people don't like Erica, some people think she's shady, but that aside, I digress. Got married, had a bunch of kids, and he's promoting traditional values, a strong household, Christian household with Christian, molded with Christian ethics. This is crazy. And she doesn't even know, just like Dave Smith said, she doesn't know. This is a direct reaction of over 15 or 17 years of the left lecturing everybody, the Me Too movement, the toxic masculinity movement, telling young boys that every intrinsic masculine imperative they have is somehow toxic and not healthy for society. When young boys love to, play rough games, love to get physical with each other, they say this is toxic, everything is toxic. So it's inevitable that you're going to have somebody like Andrew Tate who might sometimes go over the board with his messaging, who might sometimes be extra hyperbolic. But this is just how the world works. If you push something so far today, the pendulum swings. If you swing so far to this place, it's going to swing so far to the other place. But these people don't understand. They don't get this thing. Let's keep watching.
message was like, you should put women out in front of like a webcam and sexually exploit them and this stuff that I think is just horrible.
They didn't have a pro-marriage message.
I think Andrew Tate grew increasingly misogynist in terms of home stuff when he became a Muslim. Right.
Well, I think maybe, but can I just make the most important point? I believe that we didn't touch on here, right? Is that all of this? So I don't like any of that pimp shit. I hate it. I believe in pushing like a family message. I think that's where you find true happiness and meaning for both men and women, and it's better for children and it's better for society. That being said, none of that matters right now. These are American citizens who are being charged with a crime, and all that matters is specifically what's going on here. And I got to say, Pierce, without knowing the details of the crime at all, I will say from my perspective as an American, I'm humble that I don't know that much about your country. What I've been reading about you guys, I feel pretty nervous about extraditing Americans to your judicial system right now.
So true.
It has shown so much corruption and so much, quite frankly, political and bias over the years that I think a lot of people rightfully do go, is this really about the crime that they committed, or is this about some type of political agenda? By the way, a long philosophical conversation that Andrew would be better to break down than me is that, by the way, Andrew, from the liberal worldview, what did Tate even do that was wrong? Really?
Nothing.
I think it was wrong.
From the progressive worldview, they endorse OnlyFans. They consider it to be empowering for women to be online prostitutes. The only time they object is if a man's involved getting a cut of the money. That's it. That's the only time
I think to be fair.
Now, two parts of what Dave Smith said. Firstly, I don't really trust the British judicial system because they've allegedly systematically covered up the grooming gangs, the grape gangs, the Pakistani grape Muslim gangs. So, and they've been, after the Tates for over how many years, telling the Romanian people to extradite them and everything. They banned the mention of their names in school. They are in the legislature calling Tate the source of the problem, or labeling him as a national security threat. So it begs to the question to ask, is this a political hit job? Is this just because it is really about the alleged crimes almost 10 years ago that nobody's actually seen the names of the alleged victims? I'm not saying the Tates are innocent. I'm just saying that it should be innocent until proven guilty, beyond reasonable doubt. But the UK justice system that arrests people or that prosecutes people just for tweets and Facebook posts, I'm so skeptical. It doesn't mean that there are not good things about the UK, but I'm so skeptical about them getting a fair trial in the UK. And most people share this sentiment. Now, to the second part, these same people on the left that are saying that he's pimping women, he's treating women badly, he ran a webcam studio. These same people celebrate the OnlyFans models. They celebrate these sex workers on OnlyFans. They say it's empowering for women. But somehow, for some weird reason, when Andrew Tate actually uses it to empower women that time, is a problem. So this is just to tell you that these people, they don't really care about the victims. I don't think this is about the alleged crimes. I think this is just a political hitch job because these people are influential and they are influencing the young men, the military aged young men. Because when women gather or revolt for something, they can't, physically, start a revolution. But when men are disenfranchised, this is how revolution starts all over the world. It is historically documented. So I think that the powers that be, like the things actually call them the matrix, they don't like the influence that these boys have or these men have. So this is just, for me, I think it's a political hit job. But if there is another evidence or overwhelming mountain of evidence that shows that they are, alleged sexual predators, I'll still make a video condemning them. That is just how the world works. I'm not going to, throw them under the bus or say they're evil just because the mainstream media or the apparatus or the powers that be are actually saying that they are bad people, because I don't trust them at all. That is all I'm going to say about that. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you'll be notified anytime I drop another video. Until next time, peace.